Hi everyone. In this video, I would like to talk about the uh, phases of life when people feel depressed, unworthy, anxious, or are lost in their life. And recently, I saw this page where they were talking about what it means when someone is a Eeyore like personality, or what it means when you are a Winnie the Pooh like personality, or what it means to be a Spiderman like personality. So, these three videos that I saw recently on this page, out of which one of the links I will post in my description. In the comments related to in the video of Eeyore, we see that Eeyore is constantly depressed and he is constantly losing his tail. And in the Winnie the Pooh book, while it's a book written for children, there are many meaningful things about life that is present even in a small, simple children's story, which is what this website is trying to talk about, via different comic characters. So, why they're talking about life via these comic characters is because each of us can either identify with some element of these characters or vastly identify with one of the characters based on how the character's life trajectory is. So when Eeyore is constantly depressed, he's feeling unworthy, that he brings down the uh, energy or brings a lot of sadness into his friend's life, or he feels he's bringing a lot of trouble in his friend's life when they are constantly trying to rescue him from either from the depression or from searching the tail that he has lost. So, because he feels this unworthiness, he feels lost as well. And that is why God has come to converse with him in the form of Jesus in order to bring the light into his darkness. And the darkness and lostness that he feels is the same darkness and lostness that happens to someone who is greatly depressed or feeling quite unworthy of their life purpose. And you will see, even though Eeyore is always depressed, even and he is lost in this video. If you see the video of Winnie the Pooh, you will see that Winnie the Pooh is also lost, and Winnie the Pooh is also feeling sad. He's just not as severely depressed as Eeyore. So why is Winnie the Pooh now sad, and why is Winnie the Pooh also feeling lost? Because again, for Winnie the Pooh now, while Eeyore's purpose is part of his Eeyore's purpose is his presence in his friends' lives, and his depression and lostness goes, or losing things goes hand in hand with his role as what he's meant to do in their life. Same way, Winnie the Pooh has a particular role too. His role is he loves finding honey, so he goes around searching for honey everywhere in the forest, and his role simply isn't to just find honey. After he has eaten the honey, he goes and shares the honey, he goes and collects and stores the honey. He also, while in search of honey, when his friends need him, he goes and helps his friend, or all of them go together on adventures, helping each other do something that they need to, that needs to be done at the point of time of the story. So Pooh also has a purpose. That's why he also, when he is feeling lost and unworthy, again Jesus is giving him this conversation that there is a purpose to him feeling lost and unworthy. He's feeling unworthy sometimes because while Pooh's heart wants him to cheer everyone, bring happiness to everyone, when he's not able to bring that cheerfulness or happiness to Eeyore, he feels like a failure. But that's where God is trying to tell him that you can't do the job that is not your job to do. Meaning, it is his job to cheer up his friends. It's not that he shouldn't continue trying to cheer Eeyore every time he sees that Eeyore is feeling sad, or every time he feels the need to cheer Eeyore, because herein also lies one core truth of life, that if you have been created by God to cheer multiple people or cheer a one particular friend, the reason why you have been created to be that way is because that is part of your worthiness and part of your purpose. So the thing that is actually the part of your purpose, you can't remove that thing from yourself. So how much ever Pooh wants to, if Pooh feels that whatever he's doing is not enough to cheer Eeyore, it is true that maybe Eeyore's majority depression can't be taken away by Pooh. But Pooh is doing as much as he can given his capacity to help cheer Eeyore. And in fact, if Pooh was not present in Eeyore's life, even if Eeyore is, say, 90% depressed, and if Pooh is not present in his life to cheer him up, Pooh might feel that he's not able to remove all the 90% of Eeyore's depression. But what Pooh doesn't understand is Pooh's job is to cheer him up, but not to focus on how much of Eeyore's depression he is removing. His fruit of labor doesn't come from him completely eliminating depression from Eeyore's life, but his fruit of labor comes from doing as much he is capable of doing and not doing it in a way where he feels tired and unworthy. Doing it to the level and limit that is his level and limit. So Pooh's job and life purpose, and this unfolding of someone's life purpose, is something that doesn't happen in the first year of our life, 10th year of our life, 50th year of our life with some friend or family or co-worker. This unfolding of our life purpose slowly unfolds in our life. So initially when he might have met Eeyore, he might have been too enthusiastic in completely removing all of Eeyore's depression. But if his job in life is not to simply remove Eeyore's depression, can he, if he continues focusing only on Eeyore, then he will feel unworthy. But if Pooh starts remembering that all he has to do in order to be worthy in Eeyore's life is to continue helping him with his depression, but not making that his sole purpose. His sole purpose might be something else. So for any one of us who is this cheerful kind, who wants to cheer our mother, father, societal people who are sad, or friends or colleagues who are sad, our job is to do our job, which is what Hinduism also talks about. Do your karam, don't focus on the fruit of your labor, meaning don't put the focus on how much depression you alleviated on someone. Put the focus on, if your job is to alleviate depression, bring honey to people, bring sweetness in people's lives, just do that. Bring the sweetness that you can bring in their life. How much your ability to bring sweetness in their life will actually cheer them up is up to them and their life journey and their life purpose. So what if your life purpose is to stay a little bit depressed in life? Because if he doesn't stay depressed, all the people who want to cheer him up, who love to provide happiness, who love to give a lot of things, who will they give the things to if there's no one to receive it? So Eeyore's job, that's why Eeyore doesn't understand and he feels unworthy, that why is he not able to give like everyone else. It's because his job is to give what? His job is to give his presence to his friends. His job is being rather than doing. So people forget this aspect about humans. And yeah, Eeyore is a fictional donkey character, but are there humans who are not understanding like Eeyore that just being human is also a characteristic people have to have in their life? So when we are being human and being humane, at the time feeling lost, feeling unworthy, feeling burdened, feeling like we are a burden, all of it can happen to any one of us. So similarly, if you look at the Spiderman comic, in that Spiderman one, Spiderman feels sad that he hasn't been able to help so many of his friends. Spiderman feels sad that he never could help Uncle Ben prevent his death. But what Spider-Man also doesn't realize, that without Uncle Ben's death, Spider-Man would never have become Spider-Man. Because there's always a set of, when some darkness related event also happens in any one of our lives, and if our life purpose was associated with doing something related to that darkness happened to us for us to get taken in a journey that will eventually be our purpose of life. And if you watch the new Spider-Man movie, which was a comic movie where different universes was shown in that movie, in that different universe of different Spider-Mans, you could tell that in each of the and some of the Spider-Man were not even men, they were women also. So when you have taken up the role of saving people via the work that Spider-Man does, in that time, each of those characters' life had one tragedy. So in one Spider-Man's life, there is Uncle Ben who dies. But in some other Spider-Man's life, it is some other core family member of theirs or core friendship that ends and or dies. And this is the part of their journey of becoming Spider-Man in their universe, where without that one loss or one key death, they wouldn't have been motivated to do something. And same way with Spider-Man, every time Spider-Man now feels like a failure when he's not able to save multiple people, and he feels constantly also anxious that there's so many people to save. Again, for Spider-Man, the job is that while if he is aware that there are 10 people to save, and at that time, and you know, if you look also in Spider-Man movies, Batman movies, sometimes you will see that in those movies there are certain critical crucial point of time on their story trajectory when multiple people need to be saved, not just one, and they are split in making the decision on which person to save at that time. And this is where, if say, you know, you were meant to save, you found that there were two people you have to save and you chose one person over the other, at that time that crucial discernment you did was based on the knowledge you had about who needed to be saved and why they needed to be saved, and your the discernment that you have developed about who to save, right? Because at any point of time in these storylines of all these superhero characters, you will see that the person they are able to save, or the one which they have weighed in their judgment is the one that needs to be saved first, happens because at that point of time that is the only knowledge they have about that person. And whatever knowledge they have, whatever decision they make, they don't know this, but whatever decision we make is always aligned with our greater good path that is meant to unfold next in life. So God also knows most of the time, knows when who is the person we will save. So that's why when you are feeling anxiety that there are 2 people to save or 10 people to save, and you have the capacity at that time only to save one person, focus on the job you are supposed to do. Do not focus on the other 9 that you can't save at that time, or the other person you couldn't save at that time. Focus on the one you save, and your feeling of unworthiness will go away if you realize that at that point of time that is the only person you could have saved, given all the things you knew about yourself, all the things you knew about the other person. And also the person who couldn't be saved, or the person who got delayed in getting the help that they needed, that also usually will have a higher purpose. So if in Spider-Man's story Uncle Ben couldn't be saved, it is because there was a higher purpose for Uncle Ben to not be saved. And not simply for Spider-Man, but also Aunt May's life purpose will not unfold if Uncle Ben can't be saved. Other people who Uncle Ben knew, their life purpose also will not be. And it's not that his loss was just simply felt by Aunt May or Spider-Man the most. Other than Peter Parker and Aunt May, there are many other people who also knew Uncle Ben, whose life will also get influenced and impacted by Uncle Ben's death. And some of those people we may know in the storyline of Peter Parker, some of those people we won't even know. They could be just simply random strangers that Uncle Ben might have met in his life during the life he held on Earth. But his soul had a higher purpose to exiting the earth at the time when he exited the earth. And that's why even when you have a regret, your regret should be about related to what you could or couldn't do, and also realize that certain things you will not be able to do because that is not your job to do. And that is where, whenever in different religious teachings it is said to cast our burdens out to God, that is because we are meant to, in order to have peace in our life. And if you look at the serenity prayers words also, you will see that it is said that first we have to know what is our capacity to do something. So what are the things in the world that we can change? We should know that. We should know what are the things in the world that we cannot change. And the third thing is, in order to have serenity within ourselves, we also have to have the wisdom to know the thing that we can change. We should distinguish between the thing we can change and the thing we can't change, because the thing that we can change, that is the labor we have to do, that is the karma we have to do, whereas the things we can't change is not up to us. That is where we have to leave and lean into God, and cast everything, the burden that we are feeling, the anxiety that we are feeling, the depression that we are feeling, that aspect we have to give to God, because that is where God is carrying the burdens for us. Because God, being the higher entity who rules our life on earth, or understands the higher purpose of our life on earth, he knows our limitations, he knows our good qualities, he knows not simply our limitations and good qualities, but he also knows what should unfold and what should not unfold in someone's life. So the thing that shouldn't unfold or cannot unfold, cannot be stopped, cannot be changed. That's why even if Peter Parker wants to change the trajectory of Uncle Ben dying, sometimes he can't change that trajectory, because without Uncle Ben's death, many other things can't unfold in his universe. So that's why there are certain things Peter Parker can't change. So that thing that he can't change, he can't keep holding, he can have a grief for it. Grief has a very valid purpose and reason. He should have the grief, he should have the regret, because the grief and regret only will make him capable of helping someone like Uncle Ben in the future. And the more he understands Uncle Ben's purpose, or depth of the reason why Uncle Ben was valuable in his life, he will similarly understand some Uncle Ben like person's importance in some other person's life in the future, and that's why he will end up in the future saving some other Uncle Ben like person, be it a man, be it a woman. And also, if he realizes that Uncle Ben's death also has a purpose in the future, when he's trying to save some other Uncle Ben like person, if that Uncle Ben like person was not meant to be saved in the universe at which they are dying, then he will also eventually understand the purpose of the death of that person as well. And at those time points where he is conflicted and not able to understand, is this the person I should save, is this the person I shouldn't save, at that time only our leaning into God helps us, our praying to God helps us, our praying to God that, say if we have 10 people to save and we are only capable at that time of saving one person, we go and help the person we are most capable of helping, and we have to leave the other people to be saved by someone else. And that's why only in the superhero movies or in the latest Spiderman movies, there was not simply one Spiderman saving so many people. There was Spiderman along with so many friends and so many other cartoon characters who are also saving other people, because everyone has a particular kind of person they have to help or save or be in their life. So everyone has a role. And now looking at Spider-Man's story, if Eeyore is looking beyond simply the storyline of Winnie the Pooh, and that is what happens when we are starting to awaken, sometimes you will see that there are these core people in our life we were meant to help, but there are also other people around in the world. So now if Eeyore starts looking at Spider-Man and starts thinking, again starts comparing that I'm not a savior, I'm not helping someone, again Eeyore is wrong. That unworthiness is a thing he has to give to God, because his job also is to be present in certain people's lives. So he can't, if he focuses too much on the people he is not present in their lives of, then he will again be confused and lost, because he is again trying to do something that may not be a part of his role. So if your purpose is just to be friends with 4 people, and he focuses on the other 100 people that outside in the world that he can't be in their lives, then he will constantly continue being very highly depressed. But if he only focuses that instead of these 100 people that I can't be in their life, he starts valuing his presence in the life of each of his friends, then the more he starts valuing it, the more he starts deeply understanding his purpose for being present in someone's life, the more he understands that his being still is also something that is needed by his friends, then he will not think too much about and the things, the people he can't be present in other people's lives. If he lets go, and again lets go the responsibility of those people he can't be in the life of, he will slowly, his depression also will slowly start waning a little bit. Because this is the thing where when Winnie the Pooh feels sad that he's not able to help Eeyore all the time with his sadness, the reason why they both have to understand is Eeyore's sadness has a purpose. Without, if Eeyore is never sad, say Eeyore is always cheerful, then who will Winnie the Pooh cheer up, right? So there will be a time when, and it is possible, there's a time when Eeyore will be completely happy. But what Pooh doesn't realize it, the only time we will be completely happy is when we go to heaven. So when you die, you will be 100% happy. So when you die, you will be 100% happy. So if Pooh puts this wish and desire that I want to have this quality to bring 100% happiness in Eeyore's life, Pooh doesn't realize this, but someday in the future, his wish might get granted when Eeyore will die. That is the day he will be 100% happy. So, but until the day Eeyore has achieved 100% happiness, if Eeyore was 90% happy and Pooh's job is to reduce his unhappiness by 10 or 50%, that is all Pooh is supposed to do. So maybe on Eeyore's birthday, Pooh can achieve towards bringing happiness to Eeyore by making him say 80% happy. That is doable. Or on Eeyore's or on some other day when Pooh has brought a lot of honey and he is sharing the honey with everyone, on that day he is only meant to reduce Eeyore's unhappiness by 20%. So that is all he is supposed to do. He is supposed to, because that day his purpose was not to just simply focus on Eeyore, his purpose was to focus on Eeyore but also share honey to focus on all his other friends as well who need the honey, right? So that's why every day, each day of our life, our purpose shifts a little. Someday it is about Eeyore, someday it is about Eeyore plus other friends, and someday, the day when Eeyore needs to sit and grieve and cry for a long time, at that time Pooh's job may not be even to be present in Eeyore's life. Pooh has to go and search for honey a little far away and take a longer time in coming back to Eeyore, because Eeyore at that time is meant to grieve and cry about something. Because crying also has a purpose, sadness also has a purpose, and crying and sadness, for some human beings, if their purpose was to feel a lot of different things, for that person who's meant to feel a lot of different things, like how Eeyore feels a lot of things, and that feeling a lot of things, Eeyore is also possibly a very empathetic person, and being an empathetic person, he simply doesn't feel sometimes his grief. If Eeyore reflects more deeply about the job of why he is depressed, slowly as his life purpose is unfolding, Eeyore will also understand that the grief he feels is not simply his grief. He is also actually feeling some of the grief of everyone else around him. So the day when sometimes and people who undergo depression will understand this better, and I have gone through depression a lot of times, so I understand this, that there are days when there's nothing wrong in my life which should bring me grief. I'm having the best day of my life, but even in that best day of the life that I am having, I cannot be 100% happy that day as well. Why? I might have moments of my life where on that day when I was having the most funnest time or the happiest time of my life, at that time, say, in the 24 hours of that day, the 8 hours, after the 8 hours I'm not sleeping, there's about 16 hours of the day where for 5 to 10 hours I was extremely happy, or almost 100% happy. But the rest 5-6 hours when I was not 100% happy, at a time the unhappiness wasn't even my unhappiness. It could be that I was near 100% happiness, but I still felt 5 or 10% or 1% unhappiness. But because on that day, while it was the best day of my life, someone else around me might not have been having the best day of their life. And that's why if you are an empath, you cannot be 100% happy, because you will feel the unhappiness of someone else, even if someone else didn't mention to you that they are unhappy, or they are not very visibly showing their unhappiness. Even then you will understand that they are unhappy. And if you are an empath, you will feel the unhappiness of the other person as well. So when Eeyore feels depressed, Eeyore, and that weariness a person feels when they are depressed, or that lack of motion someone feels when they are depressed, that lack of motion and the feeling of weariness is necessary for the person who is an empath like person to feel in their lives. Because if they when they are feeling that weariness, some weariness is their own weariness, but some weariness is also the burden they have taken subconsciously. Maybe when they are not a conscious empath, subconsciously they are carrying the burden of sadness of everyone else around them. And when they are carrying that burden of sadness in them, and when the load is really high, that is when on that day, when say you have a capacity to carry 100% unhappiness, but that day you're feeling that your burden is 110%, you are not able to carry that extra burden. You don't know where that extra burden is coming from, but wherever it is coming from on that day, the extra unhappiness or extra weariness you're feeling needs to be given away to God, because God is meant to carry at that time that extra burden of unhappiness. While because of that unhappiness, if Eeyore feels worthless, that he is not able to get up and do the work that everyone else is doing, because one thing of unworthiness that happens to depressed people is the same thing that is happening to Eeyore. That Eeyore feels while Pooh is going and getting honey for everyone, or Piglet is going and helping him search for his lost tail, or Tigger is jumping around and doing antics to cheer everyone up. So whoever is of their friends are doing some one job to bring the energy up, or bring the happiness level up, or bring something that will help to in the happiness. When all these everyone else is doing something, he is also doing something that Eeyore doesn't understand. But Eeyore at that time, while these people are being cheerful, these people are being happy, if Eeyore doesn't stay in their life, they will see one day, if Eeyore goes missing for a while, 1 day, 1 year, 10 years, if Eeyore goes somewhere else, at a time those people around Eeyore will start understanding that the reason why Eeyore was not so much mobile or so much active was or so much doing something was because, or he was feeling so lost, or he was actually literally losing things, was because without an Eeyore's presence in each of the other people's lives, they would not understand their life purpose. So Piglet feels nice when he is able to help Eeyore find his tail. Tigger feels nice, and the Tigger likes to be jumpy and happy. But if there is no Eeyore, a depressed person around Tigger, Tigger will also not have that jumpiness and happiness if Eeyore was not there in his life, or Eeyore like people are not there in Tigger's life. Not simply Eeyore, but Eeyore plus other people. Same way with Pooh. Pooh will not feel happy if Eeyore plus other people are not present in Eeyore's life. And Eeyore, as a result of that, when Eeyore is starting to realize that it's not simply his presence that give purpose to everyone else, he may start feeling depressed again, extra depressed, that why am I not the only valuable person in their life? Because every one of us has a different purpose than simply being present in one person's life. Now Eeyore, if he wants, and this unhappiness is also needed for Eeyore. Why? Because if Eeyore wants to now develop that one-to-one extra special connection with someone, he needs to understand that one-to-one extra special connection that he wants, he will not get from his friends. That is when when we are in youth stages of life, we are happy just simply being with our friends and simply focusing on our friends' needs. So when we are in our teens, when we are in our 20s, and even possibly in our 30s, at that time, just simply bringing happiness to our friends, or being just ourselves in the midst of our friends, is enough and will not cause depression for most of us, or it will lead to milder cases of depression in our life, or manageable cases of depression in our life. But the moment someone like Eeyore is going into major phases of depression, a phase of depression that they are not able to manage in their life, that and that moment can be called something like a tower moment also. So when you are having this tower moment where you're feeling absolutely unworthy, don't understand that you're feeling like, if I go away from these people's lives, that is the best choice. What he's meant to understand is, yes, the feeling that is arising in his heart that he needs to go away from these people's life might be indeed a true feeling he has to explore. Why? Because maybe if Eeyore is now supposed to get married to another person, like in his life, some another person who is a little bit like Eeyore, but a little bit also like Eeyore's other friends, he can't find that mate in the forest that he is living in. So maybe one day Eeyore has to decide that my friends, if he feels unworthy, at that time also he has to ask God, is this unworthiness that is asking me to move away from my friends, is that something I have to do? And if that is his purpose, and God guides him that yes, you have to move now from this forest, he has to move. Because at that time when he is feeling this unworthiness, it is possible that Piglet is busy doing something, Pooh is busy doing something, Tigger is busy doing something else. They're all focused on something else in their life, and Eeyore is feeling depressed because none of them are focusing on cheering him up, and he is not able to bring his understand his purpose, so he is also not able to feel cheered up. But and he's also been feeling all his life that why is he not doing anything, right? So he's been resting all his life for 30 years. So say he has been resting all his life in the forest for 30 years. At that time, maybe his purpose is to move. And when he moves, while he is moving out of the forest, it is possible at some other corner of the forest he will meet his life partner. It is also possible he has to completely leave the forest and go a long distance for another 5-10 years, in the time when his friends were doing something else, and they would all miss him when he is gone from their lives for a few years. But while they would miss him, again his absence from their life will show them the value and worth of Eeyore's presence in their life, and it will also unfold the destiny that is meant to unfold in all his other friends' life as well. So that's why when he goes away from the forest, if Eeyore's job was at that time to, in that life, to just move for 1 month away from the forest, so he will be gone for that 1 month, he will find his purpose, he might find a partner, and then he and his partner will come back to the forest. That could happen. If his purpose was to move away from their life for 10 years, then he might have to go on an adventurous journey where he will meet not simply people like Tigger, like Piglet, like Pooh, but he will meet much more different kinds of people than these three people. He will meet some people who will not cheer him up. He will meet some people who will not help him find his tail. He will meet people who will not try to bring him gifts. He will meet people who will do all of these but do it out of maliciousness, not because they love him. So but if Eeyore is supposed to mature, Eeyore is meant to evolve, Eeyore is meant to grow, Eeyore is meant to become a father to another small baby Eeyore. All these experiences are necessary for Eeyore to understand now. So when all these things are necessary for him to understand, he might be gone for another 10 years away from his friend's life, and in those 10 years he will meet a lot of disappointing people, a lot of good people, and a lot of people in the middle. And from those people he will develop a maturity of life that will set the stage for him becoming the next version of himself, the next version that would be a good partner to someone, the next version who is meant to be a father to someone, the next version of Eeyore, where Eeyore does eventually figure out what his life purpose is in life at that stage of his life. Not when he was 20-year-old Eeyore, but when he was a 40-year-old Eeyore, there is some life purpose that is meant to unfold in Eeyore's life, which he can't find if he doesn't move away, or if he doesn't also, if not move away, some Eeyores will do that, whose purpose might be to move away from the forest. But some other Eeyores who are sad and depressed, their purpose might simply be in the forest, start doing something different. Some other Eeyore's purpose might be to understand the value and worth. Like maybe Eeyore is not supposed to get married that year. That year maybe Pooh is supposed to get married. So Eeyore's purpose is understanding, and Pooh's purpose also at that time when he is realizing that he can't always cheer up Eeyore. Why does Pooh have to realize that? Because Pooh now has to realize that he has a higher purpose, maybe to marry someone and cheer that person up. So at that time, if Pooh marries and Pooh is still focused on only cheering Eeyore and forgets about cheering his wife, then he will disrupt his marriage. He will disrupt the higher purpose of being married to someone who is also possibly depressed like Eeyore. But because Pooh is so used to seeing only Eeyore and Eeyore's depression, he's ignoring the depression of his wife. So when Mrs. Pooh comes into his life, he is not understanding when Mrs. Pooh needs cheering, when Mrs. Pooh needs help. He's always focused on Eeyore, and because of which he can't be a good husband to Mrs. Pooh. He can't be a good partner to her when she needs cheering up. So that's why when Pooh is feeling unworthy, that feeling of unworthiness also has a purpose in Pooh's life, for him to realize that he's not simply all the time meant to focus only on Eeyore. He has to focus on other people too. So for a year or two, maybe Pooh is supposed to also separate himself from his friends. Pooh is also supposed to go on some adventures of meeting the world, and while on these adventures of meeting the world, slowly he also can start developing the deeper understanding of who is meant to cheer, who he is not meant to cheer. He will also meet people who will use him for his good nature. He will also meet people who may not who may be even more depressed than Eeyore, and he might go into a journey of now understanding, if there is mass scale people who are so unhappy, how am I supposed to cheer them up? Or if there are people he sees who needs honey, but in their place there is no bees to create the honey for them, maybe his higher purpose is to understand what is wrong in this place where honey can't be found anymore. How do I bring back the bees in this area? So different life purposes for Pooh like person also will start unfolding after their unworthiness phase, after their phase of feeling lost, and that unfolding of that newer life purpose or a wider life purpose than the one they had previously can't happen in our life unless we feel this lostness, feel this darkness, feel this unworthiness, feel this depression. And while some people like Pooh and Eeyore, when they are feeling unworthy, they get sadder or depressed. Whereas some people like Piglet and Tigger, when they feel unworthy, they don't get sad or depressed. Piglet starts doing multiple things, or Tigger starts jumping around a lot and being anxious a lot, or feeling like he has to run a lot. Because again, every one of us is created different by God. So our feeling of unworthiness, our feeling of sadness or grief related things will manifest in a different way. And again, the sadness and it won't even be a sadness, or it may be a feeling of unworthiness, but it will not manifest as sadness for Piglet and Tigger. For Piglet and Tigger, it might lead to hyperactivity. For Tigger, it will lead to hyperactivity. Tigger, it might lead to hyper expression of cheerfulness, even when he is on the inside not feeling cheerful or worthy. But at that time, again, Tigger also has a purpose. Tigger has to realize why he is feeling hyper anxious. Why is he feeling hyper inauthentic about his emotions? Why is he not able to express, like when he is feeling unworthy, instead of sitting down and like Eeyore and expressing that unworthiness or feeling that depression, why is he not able to do that? And at that time also, when Tigger feels like running away from Eeyore or running away from his troubles, Tigger will run. But in the running, he will also understand Tigger might run from one forest to another forest if he has that much energy of unworthiness in him, or feeling like not addressing his problems. So when he's not feeling like addressing his problems, he will run. So when he runs and he separates from Eeyore, who was carrying actually some of this burden of unworthiness of others, when others are separating from him, Eeyore also has to understand they are separating from him because Eeyore's job of carrying their unworthiness burden or their depression burden is ending at that time or slowly breaking down at that time, because they have to also understand the emotion that Eeyore was carrying for them. So when Tigger runs away, Tigger will realize that Eeyore was carrying his unhappiness too a little bit, and then Tigger will feel his own bit of unhappiness, because that is how also Tigger now, who earlier used to cheer Eeyore directly by being present in Eeyore's life and jumping around in Eeyore's life and creating cheerfulness in Eeyore's life, instead of the direct doing of cheerfulness for Eeyore, when he moves away from Eeyore's life, if Eeyore was carrying 5% of Tigger's sadness, when he moves away, Eeyore will not be carrying that 5% sadness anymore, and now Tigger will feel that 5% of sadness, or 5% of resting phase, or 5% of weariness that Eeyore was feeling. And that 5% now Tigger has to feel, because Tigger has become too jumpy, right? He has become too anxious. So if he starts now getting a little depressed, starts now addressing that there are things in his life that is making him feel unworthy, again he will also feel lost. And when in this video of Eeyore, God is saying that cast your burdens to me, or I'm supposed to carry your burden, or whatever Jesus tells, do this, those are the things. It also says that when you are weary, when you are the most burdened, you are closer to God. So at that time, if Tigger's purpose at that time was to get closer to God, he will need that weariness, he will need that sadness, he will need that crying that he hasn't done for a while, that because of Eeyore and other people in his life who he was trying to cheer up all the time, he kept ignoring his own emotions. And that's why he was getting hyper and hyper, because he was not simply because he wanted to cheer them up, but also he was forcing himself to do a job that at that time he was not supposed to do. He was not supposed to cheer Eeyore up. At a time he was meant to cheer himself up, or figure out what he needs to do next in his next journey of evolution. But because he's so used to always focusing on other people's happiness and cheering other people up, Tigger was not focusing on himself. And because Tigger was not focusing on himself or what he needs to feel cheered up, then again that's why Tigger was getting hyper anxious, hyper active. And then once he ran, he got tired. Once he got tired, he needs rest. Once he's resting, also because he's now run a long distance away from all his friends, some of the weariness and sadness that he was ignoring comes back to him. And then he finally realizes why he is sad, what was it that is making him feel unworthy, what is it he needs to do next. And he's either doing a self-reflection, or he will be connecting more deeply to God. And then that's when his higher purpose of life might come up, that maybe he's not simply just supposed to cheer Eeyore and Pooh and Piglet, maybe he's also supposed to cheer a lot of other people in the world. Maybe his purpose might come up that he has to travel, that when he has this jumpiness energy, extra energy, maybe he's meant to travel with a lot of people all around the world. Again, his life purpose also might be next to find a partner. His life purpose next might be to find other friends he can cheer up. His life purpose is also to identify when he feels unworthy, what is the purpose of his anxiety, what is the purpose of his unworthiness, the deeper purpose related to that. Like he might be meant to become a person like Spiderman, or work with a person like Spiderman in the future. So things like that can shape up now, that he's not simply meant to be friends with only these four in the forest. He's meant to be friends with some other people who are also doers, or who also want to do something. And his purpose of that doing something is getting now triggered when he is feeling this extra anxious to do something. So or extra anxious to run, like both will happen. Part of it might be that he has to sit and work through the places where he hasn't addressed his own grief. Second part would be to sit and address that out of his own grief, what are the types of people he is meant to help, or he's meant to be present in their lives in a way he is meant to be present. Some people may be meant to be present in a large scale, some people might be meant to be present in others' life in a scale, small scale, where there are some people who might be Tigger like people who might become world travelers. So they might suddenly discover the life purpose that they are meant to find people like Eeyore, people like Pooh, people like Piglet all around the world, and they enjoy the extra energy that they have got in their body. That extra energy is for them to start traveling, and that extra traveling energy that is coming into them because they're meant to go to different countries, meet different people, help them in like the massive scale for 10-20 years, how he was helping Eeyore and Piglet and Pooh and his other friends in the forest. Same way, that massive scale of 20 years training that he got in meeting all these people, now for maybe another 5 years or 2 years or 10 years, he's meant to meet other similar kinds of people in different parts of the world and help them in small ways. Not, and again, that grandness of help, like if you help 100 people in small ways, you end up helping one person in a grand scale way also. So everyone will be different. One tiger might go and help only one person in the same way he was helping all his friends. Another tiger might help 10 people, and that the person who's going to help only one person will just that kind of a tiger like person might just move from forest A to forest B to go and help people in forest B now. And instead of having 4 or 5 people, if at that phase he is feeling the phase of just simply getting married and finding a partner, in that forest B he might find a partner, and he's meant to build something with that partner. That could be one tiger. Another tiger could be someone who will go to 10 different other forests in the same country he lives in, and in each of those places he will meet different people like him, like his friends with whom he's supposed to do some work. Another tiger will find that he's meant to now travel the world. He doesn't have any need for a partner. He doesn't have any need for deeper friendships right now he feels like making multiple friendships. So whatever it is, different tigers with different soul purpose, different life paths to unfold for them. So different people with hyperactivity, different people with excess energy, different people with nature to cheer others will slowly manifest a different purpose. Because if you have a nature to cheer others, you can become a comedian, you can become an actor, you can become a magician, you can become so many different things that your excess energy is supposed to bring. You can become a sports person, so to use your excess energy. So everyone will have a different purpose unfold for them, depending on what skills they love to enhance within themselves, and what skills is aligned with their core nature, what skills and life purpose, their core nature and understanding of their deeper nature is meant to bring in the world. For some, it is by being people like Eeyore and Piglet, it is about by being who they are. Whereas for people like Tigger and Pooh, it is sometimes by doing what they do. And then there will be some other people in the middle who are going to be those people who are both being and doing. So depending on what you are supposed to do at the time, are you supposed to be, or are you supposed to do certain things, or are you supposed to be and do both, a different life purpose will unfold. And when we are lost, when we are in the dark of what life purpose has to unfold, when we are feeling unworthy about whatever life purpose has so far unfolded in our life, when we get into those phases, God is helping us decide what is next best for us, directly or indirectly. But the more you deeply, that is the time when you're meant to also connect deeply to God. Every time you separate out from your friends, separate out a little from your family, go on a journey of separation or isolation from your friends and family, be it a minor scale isolation or separation or a major scale one, each of those time points and phases, you're meant to go into that different isolation phase or separation phase to understand deeply about your soul purpose, to connect deeply to God, to connect deeply into understanding what is the next phase of evolution which has to happen. And for some people, when I say a tower moment is happening, those people, some major massive grand scale changes has to happen in their life. So for that major grand scale change, some major things will fall apart for them. And for some people, minor level changes have to happen, so minor degree things will start falling apart for them. So those, or some people have a nature of handling a lot of catastrophe at the same time. Those who are capable of handling a lot of catastrophe at the same time, 10 things can go wrong for them suddenly. Whereas for a person who is not capable of handling 10, they are not multitaskers, they like to handle one thing at a time. For them also, when the tower moments are happening, one thing at a time will slowly start crumbling. So another person also will have 10 things going wrong, but for them the 10 things will be going wrong in a span of 10 months. Whereas the one who can handle 10 problems at the same time, or whose job is to understand that when 10 problems are happening at the same time, which one do I prioritize, which one do I leave to God, those things will start manifesting in their life. So I hope it makes sense to understand that there is always a higher purpose and deeper reason, and a reason related to our own evolution, growth, or future direction of our life, that causes us to feel depressed, that causes us to feel unworthy, that can cause us to feel anxious, that can cause us to feel we are not enough for our friends and family or the work that we do. But in each of them, first, accepting that sadness, depression, grief, unworthiness, everything is important. Accept it, that that is part of your life journey, that you have to experience it at that time. The more you accept it, the sooner you will start aligning with God or connecting to God to understand the deeper purpose behind it. Secondly, the grief is all necessary for your own journey of breaking down things that need to break down in your life, and sprouting some new things that is meant to next sprout and spring up in the future of your life. So you have to plant you have to break down certain things, you have to plant certain seeds, and those seeds are planted while you're connecting to God, and then the new seedlings will pop up and sprout eventually in your future. The fruit of your labor will the thing that you were doing in that point of time when you were in isolation, when you were in separation, those things will now start bearing fruits based on what is the next life purpose. Like for some, literally a fruit will bear, like while his friends were away, and say Eeyore doesn't go away, but Eeyore's friends go away from him. Eeyore might be at that time supposed to sit in the forest and start planting some seeds. That could be Eeyore's next purpose. Or Eeyore and Piglet are not going anywhere. They both are supposed to become deeper friends at that time. So they sit and become good friends and try doing something together as friends that they would never get a chance to explore if their other friends were around. So something like that also can unfold in someone else's life. So whatever is meant to unfold next in your life is going to unfold when we are in deep grief, deep lost though about what is next meant to unfold, because we are so used to certain things happening a certain way. That is necessary because what was happening in a certain way in our life for the last 10-20 years, many of those things have to fracture away. That's why in Spiderman's story, whatever was happening earlier in Spiderman's life, at that time he was just a teen, enjoying his college, dating a girl, he was just doing normal teen things. But after Uncle Ben died, he had to mature up as an adult, start thinking about adult responsibilities, start thinking about getting a job, start thinking about he is now responsible for Aunt May. Aunt May also had to start thinking about getting a job and becoming more patriarchally responsible. Both of them actually, when Uncle Ben died, both of them became a little bit more patriarchal responsibility oriented. They both shared what Uncle Ben was doing in their life. That role now got split halfway between Peter Parker and Aunt May. So they both had to take up some paternal roles of doing a job to earn money, of taking up some more responsibilities, that if Uncle Ben used to be the one who was fixing up things in the home, now they both have to start doing those things. And if they both don't do those things, they might have to hire someone to do those things, or they might have to learn a skill next that will be better for them to learn in the next phase of their life journey. So those skills that Uncle Ben used to do, those skills they have to develop in their life. So these are the reasons why Uncle Ben died, that they had to evolve into becoming some better or different version of themselves from that day on. And that's why that death happened. And that doesn't mean that you just the day he dies you realize the purpose of what was the purpose of this person now being dead from our life. Like when Uncle Ben dies, or when a friend leaves you, what was the purpose of that friend leaving us? That day you may not understand it, but 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, 10 years later, slowly you will start understanding what was the value of that person leaving our life, what was the value of that person dying, what was the value of that relationship ending maybe temporarily for us. Something like that will manifest in our life. So if you have any questions on this topic, please drop a comment, and I would love to hear from you anything that you want to share while after seeing this video. Thank you very much. Have a great day.